This is going to be a film study look at Marquez Valdes-Scantling's performance in the Chiefs' 23-20 win over the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that he was the MVP for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes played extremely well, looked very limited. There's a couple of throws in this game, in this film that I'm going to show you that kind of illustrate that, I think. This video is probably going to get copyright hit by the NFL. I have no idea what Baldy's breakdowns or whoever else has covered what plays. I'm just getting this one out there as soon as I can. I really thought that this guy played exceptionally well for someone who had not had a lot of impact recently. Now, having said that, the last time he made downfield plays was against the same Bengals defense, against the same matchup that I'm going to show you here. Huge performance, clutch, 6'4" guy with speed. He beat Mike Hilton all game. He did. He beat Mike Hilton at least 5 times one-on-one in man coverage. I know that there will be some who will probably say, well, Hilton looked a little injured because he did grab at his foot twice after plays, and you'll see one of them here in this video. But then how do you explain Week 13? He did the same thing to Hilton Week 13. I have him beaten Hilton 3 times in Week 13. Only one big catch against Hilton, but had 2 big catches in the Chiefs' 27-24 loss in Cincinnati. Look, 6 catches, 116 for a touchdown. A big touchdown that I think puts the Chiefs up 20-13 in the third quarter of the AFC Championship game. And like I said, hadn't really produced any explosive plays since the Chiefs' Week 13 loss in Cincinnati. I'm going to show you those 2 plays here. I feel like I have to mention this as well. I give a lot of credit to Cincinnati's defense for their ability to make adjustments, their tactical decisions. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this was a poor job of identifying that Mike Hilton was not capable and would not be capable under any circumstance of guarding Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I just think it's a bad matchup for him personally, and he's one of the better nickel corners that I think exist in the NFL. He's a fantastic football player. Now, this is from Week 13, and this is not against Mike Hilton. The Bengals are lined up in sticks, blitz, zero, whatever you want to call it. And I love how Kansas City attacks this. Now, I'm not talking about the AFC Championship game yet, but they're utilizing speed, Valdes-Scantling, or MVS, and they're giving Mahomes a secondary route, the deeper dig or deep end, whatever you want to call it. And both of those guys are open. Hell, the guy at the bottom of the screen is probably an opportunity to throw him the football as well, Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know how the Bengals staff didn't think that these things could happen. This is, again, a schemed pass play. Valdes-Scantling against Mike Hilton. And the Bengals, for the last 2 years, had played number 3 vertical by essentially bracketing him, which is smart, and it turned out to be smart in a lot of these wins that the Bengals had because of the Chiefs' propensity to throw to number 3 vertical, particularly when number 3 was not the tight end. In this situation, they've got Travis Kelce lined up on the backside to the boundary, which is typically where he's lined up. Trey Flowers, the man-to-man specialist against tight ends for the Bengals, is lined up over him. Valdes-Scantling is schemed open here. This is all to get him open. And the Bengals staff, I'm sure, recognize this. They're way smarter than me. I'm not sure how they didn't recognize that the Chiefs were going to go to Valdes-Scantling against Mike Hilton if they got the opportunity, based on the fact that this is a schemed play from Week 13. Now, you may say, well, they didn't even know that Valdes-Scantling was going to be in the game because they didn't know that Kadarius Toney was going to get hurt, that Juju was going to go down during the game and be unable to return, that Mecole Hardman was going to return and to get re-injured. No problem, fine. And I guess if you want to give the Bengals staff a pass on this, here's how you could. Since that Week 13 game, where Valdes-Scantling had those 2 big catches that you saw on 6 targets, so it's not a high percent, and he hasn't been a high percent catch guy in his career, really. Since that time, he's played 6 games for the Chiefs, had 10 catches on 25 targets, so a really low percent, only a total of 110 yards. So I guess if you wanted to give the Bengals staff a pass for that, go right ahead. But in my opinion, once you see Hilton get beat 2 or 3 times, how do you let him get beat again? In this game, Kadarius Toney started. He's against Mike Hilton here in man. I think this ball is maybe 1.5 yards underthrown by Patrick Mahomes. It's a laser. It gives Toney an opportunity to catch it. He's unable to catch it. We know he came down injured not long thereafter. I think the injury may have occurred on this play, but I could be wrong. Let me ask you this. Well, I guess I'll ask this at the end. If this is Marquez Marquez, apparently is how you pronounce it, Valdes-Scantling against Mike Hilton. I mean, the film I'm going to show you, I don't know how you can say he doesn't make that catch because he's made every other catch against Mike Hilton, in this game at least. All right, so this is going to get to the film of him. He's up at the top. Now, this is not a designed, delayed throw to the flats. This is a reaction, a nice job of recognition by Mahomes. He sees the safety dropping down. In this case, the safety is Bates. Hilton initially flashed to the flats. They were trying to entice Mahomes to throw into the slot here with Bates breaking on it late to Valdes-Scantling, 11 or 12-yard gain. This one is man, and this is, again, I believe that these are designed plays to attack Mike Hilton. How can I prove that? And I think this ball's off target by Mahomes, to be honest with you. This is a big throw, though. At least gives him the opportunity to make the play. I think this is designed. You're getting a shorter route by Juju to hold Eli Apple. Essentially works out like smash. MVS is going to take Hilton in here and then bring him back to the sideline on kind of like a corner route. I think this ball should be thrown a little bit more away from the safety. And if you're a Bengals coach and you see the separation that occurs from the hash to the top of the numbers, we're not talking about a huge amount of space here. All right? Now were it directly horizontal, there's no space at all. But this is like, maybe a 50, 55 degree angle, so there's a little bit more room. But if you're a Bengals coach and you see this and you don't recognize, hey, he's just faster than him. He's just more athletic. He's got a large catch radius. I guess the way that some people, Bengals fans, smart Bengals fans would explain it is they would say, well, we're not going to put Jesse Bates on him. We're not going to put Von Bell on him because they wouldn't be able to guard him either. You'll see a somewhat similar route that Valdes-Scantling runs later. And I'm going to go slow-mo here in a moment, and then I want to pull this back and make another point. You'll see another route like this later where Mike Hilton understands he's not capable of keeping up with him, so he will hold. So I'm going to talk about that here in a moment. I think this is all to confirm for Mahomes that they've got man, Bates, and Kelsey. Kelsey's going to go across the formation. I don't know that there's any communication by Mahomes here. I think this is all to scheme Valdes-Scantling open. They get Bates out of here, and you can see from this perspective, this ball was thrown. It brings Valdes-Scantling back towards the safety somewhat. He's got a large catch radius, so it's no problem, but clearly the ball could have been thrown more towards the sideline. You can see some evidence that Mahomes' injury, his ability to push off and generate as much force, was impacted. And I think Romo, one of the few things Romo covered during the game was that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, fifth possession for the Chiefs. I believe it's the first possession of the third quarter where the Bengals get a stop. And I'm using this to compare, and I'm going to show the end zone and the all-22. This is versus CTB. Now, again, I think this ball is a little bit off target, but CTB's not beat. Athletically, speed-wise, he does make some contact. You'll see it from the all-22. My point is Hilton was not able to keep up with Valdes-Scantling on deeper routes. Were we talking about like a speed out or any type of intermediate/short route? I think Mike Hilton would have been perfectly capable of doing so. In my opinion, when they went to play man, it was a tactical mistake for the Bengals to not do this when they could, meaning CTB on MVS and then Hilton on Juju. In terms of speed, that's a better matchup. Now, so what did the Chiefs do at times to illustrate the chess match that I think was occurring during the game? Well, Juju was off the field. So if there's only two receivers on the field, and they're lined up to the wide side of the field. In this case, there's three, okay? That's where Mike Hilton's going to be. Well, if you put MVS in the slot, they're going to get matched up against him. In any case, here's that 3rd and 8. First possession of the third quarter. Yeah, there's contact by CTB. I think it's a nice job of defending him. He's able to physically keep up with him, probably assisted or aided by the fact that he was making contact. Point is, when MVS got these opportunities against Mike Hilton in the AFC Championship game, he won clean. And he didn't, at least here against CTB. I'm not sure how the Bengals coaches, Lou Anarumo, I think incredibly highly of. If you listen to my channel, you know how highly I think of him. Ravens fans, it probably gets on their nerves. But I'm surprised that they weren't able to identify this as a mismatch in the Chiefs' favor. Really, it was the only mismatch they had. After Tony, Juju, and Hardman went down, They didn't have any other options. That's what's shocking and surprising to me. All right, next possession, which is the Chiefs' sixth possession, second possession of the third quarter. I believe that the Bengals have tied the game on T. Higgins' touchdown catch, so it's 13-all. I think this is a design play. I can't prove it. I think it's a designed delayed screen with MVS as an option as a delayed screen. So it's really a two-receiver route. You're getting two routes developing here simultaneously, and this is rare, at least in my experience. What the Chiefs like to do a lot of times when they do this return motion, which is MVS in motion, is they'll oftentimes get like return motion and then someone sliding out into the flats. You don't normally get the running back and the tight end and the guy in return motion all going to the same side. Now, I can't prove this, but I suspect that Mahomes and the Chiefs and whoever called this play, whether it's Bieniemy or Andy Reid, understands that they're probably not going to get someone open with a two-man route against some type of Bengals zone that you have here, whatever the hell it's supposed to be. I think these guys, which is the running back and the tight end, on this play were trained, told, practiced. If we get to MVS or whoever this is late in the read, it's a screen. Look at the quick reaction that they had. I'm going to pull this back a couple of times. It's a great play. So from here, I'm going to pull this back a couple of times. Hopefully it doesn't get annoying. Look at the quick reaction these guys have when the ball is... How do receivers normally react when someone else has the ball thrown to them? Now, it's downfield, from the standpoint of it's beyond Mahomes, but it's behind the line of scrimmage. And that's to me what illustrates that this is a designed play, not with this being the main and only option, saying, whatever else we may have develop. I don't think those two guys were part of the real progression at all. We can come back to this, and I think this is a design screen, and I suspect that Reid and Bieniemy had at least three plays like this in this game. Really cool if you ask me. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section. Here's the end zone angle view. Watch the running back and the tight end go out to the same side. In my experience watching the Chiefs offense, which is nowhere near as much as some other people, that is an anomaly. The tight end and the running back going back to the same side where the return motion went to. Usually you're talking about, return motion, a running back, cross flow, and then the tight end who's over here going out into the flats. I know I got a lot of lines there, but basically we're talking about split flow, cross action. Essentially, you could draw X on the screen like I just did. In this case, you couldn't draw X. It's just three arrows because they're all going to the same side. I think that's an anomaly. And with MVS catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage and these guys doing a nice job blocking downfield, including Kelsey, it's enough of an anomaly for me to consider it a design play. Same possession, 3rd and 7. One of the plays of the game, really. MVS on the catch and reaches out and gets the first down after the review. I guess it's controversial. I thought the one angle they showed looked pretty clear. I would like to, from the All-22, talk about and try to suggest to you, I think this is a design play as well. It's basically, in my opinion, a design pick rub. Again, it's a 3rd and 7. Huge conversion. To the boundary, you normally have 3 Bengals defenders available. Pratt plays to the boundary most of the time. Wilson to the field. The nickel, which is Mike Hilton, normally plays to the field. In this case, he does. They've now tucked MVS into the boundary. At this point, he's playing well enough that I think they're looking at him, the coaches, like, let's get him the ball. So I believe this is a pick rub and a poor tactical blitz by the Bengals with Pratt blitzing from the boundary. There is no attempt to block here by Kelsey. Not blocking either of those guys. I think he's just running a little bit more of a vertical stem. I don't mean vertical like trying to get upfield, so that MVS can run underneath and throw this, and Mahomes can throw this ball. I actually think Mahomes threw this ball a little late, to be honest with you, and needed to get it to MVS slightly earlier. But in any case, it's a great job by MVS of catching the ball getting through or between two players, reaching out, protecting the ball, and apparently getting the first down. Huge, because he scores a touchdown 3 plays later, by the way. I think it's a design play. I didn't spend as much time convincing you of that. It's simple. It's to the boundary. You would generally, I would say, be less predictive. I'm not sure how the reaction would have been if this linebacker stayed on the inside leverage of Kelsey, where MVS is essentially running it into. I don't know what Mahomes would have done at that point. We have no idea, and I can't predict how certain offenses understand or know that a certain blitz is coming, but this appears to be a play where if you knew the blitz was coming, you would either run something like this, which I think is, like I said, a design screen, or or try to attack them vertical like they did on the first play I showed you from the Week 13 win that the Bengals had in Cincinnati. All right, so 3 plays later, now you got a 3rd and 10. Like I said, tied at 13, late third quarter, something like that. Maybe it's 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left. I can't remember. MVS down the bottom of the screen. He's singled up against Hilton. I think you've got 2-man here. I think you've got cover 2-man. But Logan Wilson's kind of hanging out down here with nothing to do because I think this running back stays in to help. So I think that's the I think that's the explanation as to why he's there. And I think these two guys are the two. In other words, the 2 safeties and 2-man. Jesse Bates has gotten some criticism for jumping this route by Sky Moore. Who knows what the Bengals rules are? It might be first deep crosser, you take it, and the second guy, you're manned up. Give the Chiefs credit. Look at the separation that you've got already. This is over. It's just a matter of can Mahomes, find the space to deliver the football, and in this case he does. I'll show you the end zone angle. Hubbard and I think B.J. Hill, maybe it's B.J. Hill, also hit him. At this point, to me, it's like, how can you justify putting Hilton on him? And again, I think Hilton is a fantastic football player. I have a film study loaded up and ready to go if the Bengals had won for me to complete this week because I thought there was a pretty good chance that they would win. I just don't know how their staff justifies this in the offseason. This matchup looked bad in Week 13. I did a preview Sunday morning for 3 minutes, and I talked about for 3 minutes this matchup. I thought it was a matchup that the Chiefs could go to. I had no idea, obviously, that Tony, Juju, and Hardman were all going to go out of the game. Ended up being the only matchup, really, that the Chiefs had that they could win consistently. 7th possession, 3rd and 8. Again, man. And you'll see a little bit of it. This is similar to the route that I showed you earlier. And again, I think this is all by design. Now, this is clearly contact downfield by Hilton because he understands that the route at this point. You can see it coming to the hash here by Valdes-Scantling. You have an obvious hold, pass interference, whatever you want to call it. Still was able to get him the football. It's essentially the same route I showed you earlier on, where he beat Hilton on the other side of the field. I'm not sure how they expected Hilton to win. In fact, I think Hilton understood as soon as that cut was made to go back to the outside that he was not going to win. This is the one play afterwards where he's walking kind of dainty on his foot. 3rd and 8, all 22 view, like I said, of the same play. And you're going to see MVS bring this route into the middle of the field and then break it back. And look at these 2 routes here. Check up. This is all designed to throw this football here. That's what it's designed to do. It's essentially just a slot fade where MVS is bringing it in here to the middle of the field for whatever reason. They're getting motion here, which draws Jesse Bates again, somewhat similar to what they did with Kelsey earlier, although they didn't motion Kelsey pre-snap. They moved him post-snap like a hide concept. And you can see how badly Hilton is beat. Maybe he was more injured than I'm letting on, but in my opinion, there was ample evidence for their coaches to absolve him of that responsibility, or at least avoid man when Valdes-Scantling was in the slot. And the Bengals usually do such a great job of making adjustments. It really surprises me that this happened. Okay, this is the somewhat controversial pass interference. I don't think there's anything controversial about it. Clearly grabbed with the right hand on the hip before the ball is there. Now, I think I've got it paused slightly before he's making contact. Clearly has made contact here. I got a little bit of a loading issue. Okay, there we go. And the ball is right around there, if I believe, if I'm correct. And has spun his hip. I thought Gene, whatever his name is, I can't pronounce his last name, did a poor job of explaining it. But, of course, he only had 10, 12 seconds to look at it. saying it didn't look like enough to call for me. It's interesting sometimes you get people saying certain things depending on who the receiver is, and maybe in some cases depending on who the defender is. Look, I thought Valdes-Scantling played his best game, maybe of his career. I know he's had other games with multiple touchdowns. Extremely dangerous guy when he played for the Packers. Had an impact in Week 13 on explosive plays. Those were not available, or at least weren't produced for 6 games. He picked the right time in the AFC Championship game to really send a battered Chiefs team to the Super Bowl. They need some of these other guys to get healthy. I'm not sure that the Eagles are going to fall prey to the same slot fade, post corner, lube fade, lube corner, whatever you want to call them, routes that he beat Hilton on quite easily. The Eagles have a lot of cover guys. I think guys that are a little more athletic than Hilton, but not as good coming forward, not as good playing laterally as Hilton. He's an A-plus player in my book, but this matchup just happened to be a really bad one for him. Surprised me that the Bengals were unable to adjust to that matchup. Valdes-Scantling in the slot, particularly on passing downs. Not surprised that the Chiefs went out there and schemed up or designed some plays to isolate Hilton and take advantage of him, because it's not like Kelsey had, other than the 4th down touchdown catch. As the game progressed, he had less and less impact, I thought. You guys let me know what you think of the film study. Preliminary thoughts on the Super Bowl. I had preliminary thoughts favoring the Eagles, to be honest with you. The receiver situation for the Chiefs makes it a very tenuous situation to try to predict anything. So let me know what you think of the film study, what you think of my comments and my thoughts about the design plays, especially the two, what I think are designed, one being a downfield screen, well, not really a downfield screen, one that's a screen with MVS waiting in the flats as like a 3rd or 4th option with design blockers, tight end, running back, and Kelsey. And then the other one, the 3rd and 7, that was very important, obviously, with MVS reaching forward and then them reviewing it, with that being a pick rub screen concept, in my opinion, basically. If you think other people would appreciate this video, other Chiefs fans, maybe even Bengals fans, or anyone, please consider sharing a link on social media to help this video get more reach.